Does the idea of your Nintendo 64 saying the f word excite you? Well, for one, you're probably insane, and for two, welcome to the club. What did I mean by that? People are totally asking that question. Well, in 1996, the Nintendo 64 was released through an astonishing "we messed up." They were a year late to that era of consoles. Of course it didn't sell well, as well as the market appeal of the PlayStation 1, but I don't think Nintendo's expecting this. But competitors lead to innovation, Sun Tzu or something, so this time Nintendo pumped out some of the most consistent, great lineup of games I think I've ever seen. Mario 64, Pilot Wing 64, Mario Kart 64. All great games, but this is still a brand new system to work with, so you can't really blame them for being a little bit slow with releasing games. Not to worry, when Nintendo wasn't releasing anything, the third parties could pick up the slack. Oh right. So the PlayStation used discs, unlike the Nintendo 64, which are much cheaper and easier to work with. You are so f***ing stubborn. Nintendo decided to continue using cartridges, which are much more expensive to produce and are much more annoying to store. Did they learn their lesson the next generation? No. There was still obviously some third-party support going on in the Nintendo 64, but it came out so slow it was hardly noticeable. I mean, sure, we had some Star Wars games and Gex, but looking back we had almost nothing. But there was one company that knew the 64 hardware and how to develop for it as well as Nintendo, or maybe even better. This company being known as Rareware, or shortened to Rare, which sounds a lot better, so Rare. I completely forget that some games were even made by a third-party developer and just think of them as Nintendo games. I mean, can you blame me? The sheer amount of quality and care put into these games is crazy, and is way more than you see in third-party games, especially at this time. Rare has always existed, making many games for Nintendo, The Amazing Spider-Man on Game Boy Color, anyone? And even made the original Donkey Kong Country games, which are some of my favorite platformers of all time. The first ever Nintendo 64 game they ever made was when Nintendo somehow had access to the James Bond license and commissioned a game from them. Now, GoldenEye 007 is really good, but this game sucks to play with the original Nintendo 64 controller. Now, I'm not one to endorse criminal activity. I am. But if you really want to, play it on Nintendo Switch Online. Don't emulate it. I will be killed by the Nintendo ninjas. This game was immensely popular on the Nintendo 64, and known for having great multiplayer, a fun story. Notice why I didn't say it was fun to play. Then they made games like Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, which are some of my favorite collectathons ever. Play these games, please. They're on Rare Replay and are really good. But around this time, they were criticized for playing it safe, making bubbly, kid-friendly platformers. Everybody unanimously agreed that they were carrying the Nintendo 64, but it all felt the same. And this was heard much more when they announced Conker's Quest in 1998, later changed to 12 Tales Conker 64. So they listened, Nintendo take notes, and delayed the game. And when it was released,
you better get this fat bitch off of my back pronto!
Don't you worry, little girl. I'll rescue you. Oh, goody goody. Yeah, her parents are bound to have some cash.
Conker's Bad Fur Day is a 2001 collectathon platformer, similar to Rareware's previous collectathons Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64, but this time they included a little thing called swearing. They specifically did this to say, look, we can make adult things too, and they sure did. It was advertised to college boys, and at the time the only games with swearing or anything vulgar would be released on PC, so for it to release on a platform known for having family-friendly games was crazy. With all this, you might think the game doesn't age very well, and you'd be right, but if anything it makes the game even better. Right from the opening of this game, it lets you know that this game is for mature audiences only. Look, it says it right here. I don't really want to summarize the plot completely because I really recommend you go play this game for yourself, but if you really want to, there's a really good video by Cloud Connection, which I would highly recommend. Link, in the description. Yes. But anyway, this game opens up with Conker monologuing about how today was quote-unquote his bad fur day. The main gist of this game is just like most other Rare games, you have some different areas to explore and complete missions and get collectibles in. But with this game, it seems that devs were given a ton of creative freedom. It feels like they had a ton of ideas from other games that never made it into them, so they decided to add them here. Likely because they were too adult, a broomstick hangs himself after being bullied by his friends in this game.
Yeah, you should kill yourself. And Matt, we got a rope right here. And we got a rope.
Yeah, we got a rope. There you go.
Could you see Donkey Kong 64 doing that? Knowing that game, actually, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier that I don't think this game ages the best, and no, it doesn't. The game is very fun, but a lot of elements in it, such as the shooting sections, feel a little bit dated. And the humor, which I find hilarious, still feels a little bit forced at points. I understand why. They were given a chance to do whatever they wanted with a Nintendo 64 game. What else would you do? But anyway, you fight a giant piece of shit who sings opera in this game.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my at you.
This game also features some really fun multiplayer, which you can also play in single player, which is what I did. I'll let you fill in the blanks there. There's one you have to pull off a heist and you beat other agents for the money, and whoever has it by the end wins. Kinda like Shine Thief and Mario Kart, but with mice, blood, and swearing. So like Mario Kart. Then there's War, which is pretty cool, where you have to shoot some teddy bears because why not? There's a lot to this game, and I neglected to mention a lot about it, because I really do think it's worth a play. Like I mentioned, it's on Rare Replay. They remade it for the original Xbox, or you could just play it on the Nintendo 64 like I did. Or you could
emulate the game.
But I didn't tell you that. It was a distant text-to-speech voice. I wonder what he said. Sadly, this game didn't sell well, probably because it was an M-rated game on the Nintendo 64, but only about a year later, Microsoft bought Rare and canceled all projects with Nintendo. Now, call me conspiracy theorist. Trust me, we're only scratching the surface of what I believe in. But I think this game was the reason why Nintendo was more hesitant to work with Rare after this. This game was one of Rareware's last major releases, and I think Nintendo saw the bad media attention this game was getting. It didn't put up much of a fight to keep them as a subsidiary when Microsoft came in. But hey, that's just a theory. A business theory. Why do I do this? Sadly, the Conker franchise hasn't gotten much after this. He had a remake on the Xbox in 2005, but he's mostly been thrown to the side by using some tech demos since. For a short while, a sequel was planned a couple years back called Conker's Other Bad Day, where he'd be thrown into prison, but sadly is cancelled. I would love to see what a modern-day Conker game could be, now that companies can get away with a lot more in M-rated games, and I think it would just be a nice change of pace from the kind of games we're getting now, and unless Microsoft sees a real reason to put a new Conker game into development, I don't see it coming. Microsoft has shown that they do care a lot about preserving all of Rareware's old IPs, so it's a possibility. But I think Conker would be put to the side for a new game, and it would instead be a new Banjo-Kazooie or something. I would honestly prefer a new Banjo-Kazooie game after the mess of nuts and bolts and it killing the franchise, but only time will tell. Also, while writing this video, a great YouTuber known as Carlito released a video on the history of Rareware, which I'll link in the description along with the Cloud Connection video. But screw all that. I think we all know the Rareware game that deserves a modern sequel. It's Jeopardy on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Yeah.